Not every attack against your destiny comes from demons. Some come from the mouths of people who smile in your presence but plot in your absence. There are conversations you were never meant to hear, meetings you were never invited to, and decisions made about you without your voice in the room. In hidden corners, your name has been discussed, your destiny debated, and your rising resisted. But tonight, the light of God is entering every secret circle. Every whisper spoken against you will be dragged into the open. Every alliance formed to bring you down will collapse under its own weight. And every tongue that rose in private shall be judged in public. Your destiny will not be decided behind your back. Heaven is rewriting the conversation in your favor. There are seasons when the true enemies of your rising are not the obvious ones who confront you openly, but the quiet ones who hide their intentions under gentle smiles and polite greetings. They shake your hand, but hide daggers behind their backs. They celebrate you with their lips, while despising you in their hearts. These are the ones heaven is exposing. Every hidden conversation that was meant to weaken your steps is being overturned by divine intervention. Some people study your movements, not to support you, but to sabotage what God has placed in your spirit. They listen closely only to twist your words and use them against you. They gather information to weaponize your innocence. They monitor your progress, not to bless it, but to stop it. Yet the God who sees in secret is rising on your behalf. His light is penetrating every shadow where your name has been mishandled. There are people who smile at your testimonies but privately hope for your downfall. They applaud your progress but cannot tolerate your rising. They sit among those who speak lightly of you, agreeing with conversations that diminish your value and question your destiny. But heaven records every whisper, every hidden plot, every quiet conspiracy. Every unspoken agreement to delay your lifting is being scattered by fire. Sometimes the battle is not against witches or wizards, but against the quiet opinions of ordinary people who do not understand your calling. They speak doubt into rooms where your name is mentioned. They question your ability, not because you are incapable, but because your rising intimidates their comfort. They minimize your destiny to make themselves feel secure. But God is reversing every verdict spoken without his approval. There are circles you do not sit in, yet your name sits there. There are meetings you never attended, yet your destiny was discussed there. Some plotted ways to keep you small. Others agreed on limiting your influence. Some tried to predict your failure as though they were gatekeepers of your future. But the voice of the Lord is rising above every earthly opinion, declaring a new chapter over your life. Behind your back, certain people have used words as weapons, releasing arrows meant to pierce your confidence. They spoke discouragement wrapped in concern, doubt disguised as advice, and envy hidden behind friendship. They crafted narratives to make others see you through the lens of their insecurity. But heaven is rewriting every story. God is pulling down every false image built around your name. There are alliances formed in private with the goal of disrupting your journey. People who do not like each other will suddenly unite when they decide they do not like your progress. They will share information, spread assumptions, and reinforce lies, hoping to weaken the foundation of your purpose. But their gatherings shall scatter. Their agreements are dissolving. Their unity will break under the weight of divine justice. Some have studied your weakness not to strengthen you, but to exploit it. They have monitored your vulnerability, hoping to catch you at a low moment. They wait for signs of struggle to confirm their predictions about your failure. But God is changing the script. What they expected to destroy you will be the very thing God uses to elevate you. Their expectations will turn into their disappointments. There are people who clap when you struggle because your rising threatens their comfort. They smile when doors close for you because your progress exposes their stagnation. They feel safer when you remain small because they fear the day you outgrow their influence. But heaven is stepping in. Your rising will not depend on their approval. Your destiny will not be held hostage by their insecurities. In the hidden places, some have spoken curses out of jealousy, disguising them as harmless comments. Words like, "I don't think they will succeed," or "let's see how far they go," have been used as spells to weaken your momentum. But those words are being returned to the sender. God is breaking the power of every careless judgment spoken over your life. There are people who are threatened by your light because it exposes their darkness. Your progress reveals their laziness. Your discipline exposes their excuses. Your vision highlights their lack of direction. Instead of learning from you, they attack what they cannot understand. But God is covering you with a shield of divine clarity. Their negativity will not overshadow your purpose. Some have predicted your downfall so confidently that they began to believe their own lies. They spoke as though they were prophets of your future, not realizing that they were fighting against a destiny backed by heaven. God is silencing those voices. Every prediction of failure is reversing. Every expectation of collapse is turning into a divine surprise. There are conversations where your future was belittled and your gifts were dismissed. People reduced your worth because they could not measure your potential. They analyzed your outward appearance while being blind to the greatness planted inside your spirit. Their evaluations were limited. God's plans are limitless. Heaven is lifting you beyond every human assessment. Behind your back, some have tried to block opportunities by speaking against you in the presence of influential people. They used their words to dismantle bridges you never knew were being built. They recommended others while downplaying your value. But what they tore down in secret, God is rebuilding in the open. Their sabotage will not stand. There are hidden competitors who see your progress as a threat. They watch your steps, not to be inspired, but to find a way to outrun you. They compete with your destiny without realizing you are not in their race. Your lane is unique. Your path is divine. Your journey cannot be compared. God is shutting every door they used to compete unfairly with you. Some have pretended to care for you while using your trust as a passageway into your private battles. They collected your weaknesses to strengthen their gossip. They took your vulnerability and shared it in places where your name was already under threat. But God is defending you. He is cleansing your name. In every place it has been polluted. There are people who cannot celebrate your rising because it confronts their complacency. They want you to remain predictable so they can feel comfortable around you. They resist any sign of growth because your evolution unsettles what they thought they knew about you. But God is breaking every limitation placed on your identity. You will not remain who they expect you to be. Some have sabotaged you unintentionally because of their own fears. They spoke doubt over your dreams because they could not imagine achieving such things themselves. They discouraged you because your ambition reminded them of their failures. They limited your vision because their eyes were trained by disappointment. But your destiny is not confined to their fears. God is lifting you above their limitations. There are conversations where your name was used to justify decisions that had nothing to do with you. People projected their issues onto you and blamed you for things you never caused. They used your quietness as proof of guilt and your humility as proof of weakness. But the God of truth is rising. Every lie is collapsing. Every false narrative is being uprooted. Your name is entering a season of divine restoration. There are places your name has traveled where your feet have never stepped. Rooms where people sat comfortably dissecting your destiny, as though they authored your future. They spoke as if their opinions carried divine authority. They weighed your worth without knowing your warfare. They judged your journey without understanding the cost of your calling. But heaven has heard every word, and the God who defends the voiceless is rising to defend you. People have taken your silence as weakness, forgetting that silence is sometimes strategy. They assumed you were unaware of the conversations against you. They mistook your calmness for ignorance. They interpreted your peace as blindness. But God has been revealing every whisper behind your back. He has been showing you the hearts of those who smile while sharpening hidden daggers. Your silence was preparation for their exposure. There are those who underestimated the covering over your life. They spoke carelessly about you, thinking you had no backup, and they believed their private opinions could shape your public outcome. They forgot that your destiny is guarded by a covenant older than their existence. Heaven has records of every whisper, and nothing spoken against you in darkness goes unnoticed. Some have placed limits on your rising because they have seen you in your humble beginnings. They think they know your ceiling because they saw your starting point. They resist your elevation because they cannot reconcile who you are now with who you used to be. But God is breaking every familiarity-based limitation. Your story is evolving, And those who refuse to accept your growth will watch it unfold without their approval. Behind your back, some have tried to plant doubt in the hearts of people who were supposed to help you. They poisoned potential helpers with subtle negativity. They discouraged people from supporting you by highlighting old mistakes or painting misleading narratives. But God is cleansing every heart that was influenced by lies. Divine restoration is entering every connection tied to your destiny. There are people who criticize what they cannot create and attack what they cannot understand. They feel threatened by the grace on your life because it exposes the stagnation in theirs. They speak against your anointing because it surpasses their expectations. But the more they talk, the more God elevates you. Your rising is God's response to their conspiracies. Some have sat in circles where your name was used as a topic because your destiny intimidates small minds. They repeated false assumptions to appear knowledgeable. They agreed with lies to fit in. They nodded to gossip to find acceptance. They distorted your reality to make themselves feel important. But heaven is overturning every polluted conversation. Your name is being cleansed in places you have never entered. There are people who pretend to support you publicly but secretly desire your failure. They keep silent when they should defend you. They laugh at jokes made at your expense. They enjoy hearing negative stories about you because it comforts their insecurity. But God is flipping their tables. Every silent spectator of your pain is being exposed by divine light. Some attacked you not because you did anything wrong, but because your presence awakened something in them they did not want to confront. Your strength challenged their excuses. Your progress challenged their laziness. Your vision challenged their comfort zone. Instead of growing, they chose to attack the one who represented change. But God is vindicating you from every projection rooted in fear. There are conversations that tried to reduce your worth to past mistakes. They resurrected old stories to overshadow your current growth. They tried to chain you to a season God has already delivered you from. But heaven does not consult your past to determine your future. Every voice trying to drag you backward is being silenced by the power of divine mercy. Some people who speak against you are fighting battles within themselves. They see in you what they wish they were. Your confidence exposes their insecurity. Your calling confronts their confusion. Your progress shines light on their indecision. Instead of seeking transformation, they choose to speak against what God is doing in your life. But their words are powerless against a destiny backed by grace. There are alignments built on jealousy that gathered behind your back. People who do not agree on anything else will suddenly unite when it comes to resisting your elevation. They form temporary alliances fueled by insecurity, thinking they can stop what heaven has approved. But the fire of God is scattering them. Their unity will crumble because it was built on envy, not truth. Some have tried to attach your identity to a version of you that no longer exists. They speak as though you have not grown. They judge you from who you were before God transformed you. They keep referring to seasons you have already outgrown. But the God who renews destinies is breaking every outdated label placed on your life. There are voices that tried to predict your downfall not based on truths, but on hope. They spoke of your collapse because they secretly wished for it. They watched your progress with hidden disappointment and waited for a moment of weakness to rejoice. But God is disappointing their expectations. Your rise will silence every prediction spoken from a bitter heart. Some planted seeds of confusion behind your back. They twisted your intentions. They misinterpreted your actions. They reshaped your story to suit their narrative. They turned simple misunderstandings into full stories. But the God of truth is uprooting every seed planted in deception. Your name will shine above every false report. There are people who cannot celebrate your success because your testimony interrupts their storyline. They feel threatened because your breakthrough proves what is possible, and they fear being left behind. Instead of being inspired, they become resentful. But God is surrounding you with people who celebrate without envy and support, without competition. Behind your back, some have questioned the legitimacy of your calling. They wondered why God chose you. They doubted your anointing. They belittled your spiritual authority. But God is about to demonstrate his hand upon your life in a way that silences every doubter. Your elevation will answer their questions. There are people who only support you when you are beneath them. As long as you remain smaller, quieter, and less visible, they are comfortable. But the moment your light grows, they shift. Jealousy rises. Distance forms. The same people who once encouraged you now struggle to clap for you. But your destiny will not shrink to protect their comfort. Some have spoken against your relationships, your assignments, your projects, and your future. They question your decisions behind your back and debate your potential as if they were judges over your life. They try to influence people connected to you by presenting their opinions as truth. But God is exposing their motives. Every unauthorized voice speaking into your destiny is losing its influence. There are whispers that try to turn people you love against you. Voices that try to create misunderstandings. Conversations designed to build walls between you and your helpers. Words spoken to weaken unity and break trust. But the Spirit of God is restoring harmony. Every relationship assigned to your destiny is being strengthened. And every relationship built on falsehood is being removed. Here is part 3, part 4, fully combined and merged into one continuous, seamless script. No changes, no removal, no shortening, no summarizing. Every paragraph remains exactly as originally written, only joined together smoothly. There are hidden rooms where your destiny has been discussed without your presence. Yet God was in those rooms, even when you were not. While people tried to manipulate the direction of your journey, heaven was redirecting every outcome in your favor. They attempted to shift the narrative, but they did not know the author had already signed your chapter. Their words carried no authority in the courts of heaven. Some have sabotaged your name by planting subtle doubts in the minds of people who once believed in you. They used small comments, quiet tones, and deceptive humility to influence how others perceived you. They shaped opinions using incomplete stories and biased perspectives. But God is restoring every damaged perception. The truth will speak louder than their whispers. There are individuals who envy your potential more than your achievements. They see what you carry in the spirit and fear what you will become when God finishes with you. They do not attack your present. They attack your future. They sense the greatness emerging from your life and feel threatened by the very idea of your rising. But they cannot stop what God has already released. Some people are uncomfortable with the grace on your life because it exposes their lack of preparation. You walk with doors opening where they struggled for years. You rise in areas they fail. You carry ease where they carry frustration. Instead of seeking alignment, they speak against what they do not possess. But God is increasing the grace upon your life in their presence, behind your back. Some have used spiritual language to justify their jealousy. They wrapped envy in religious terms and cloaked insecurity in false discernment. They spoke as though they were protecting others when they were actually protecting their own pride. But God is unveiling every disguised motive. No spiritual mask can hide a corrupted heart. There are individuals who know your value more than you do, and that is why they fight you. They see your impact before you fully step into it. They recognize your influence before you realize its depth. They attack your identity because they fear your future position. But God is strengthening your spirit. The enemy can see your potential, but he cannot prevent your manifestation. Some have attempted to rewrite your story by exaggerating your flaws while minimizing your strengths. They highlight moments of weakness, but ignore seasons of growth. They remember mistakes, but forget victories. They cling to who you were and resist who you are becoming. But the God of transformation is rewriting the perceptions of every heart connected to your destiny. There are secret conversations designed to make you question your value. Words spoken to weaken your confidence and dim your fire. Sentences crafted to shake your belief in your assignment. But the Spirit of God is restoring your inner strength. Every voice that tried to shrink your identity is being silenced by divine affirmation. Some have treated your life like a discussion topic instead of a destiny. They speak of you casually, forgetting the weight your life carries in the spirit realm. They reduce your journey to entertainment, not knowing that heaven watches every word spoken. But God is correcting every tongue that misused your name. Every careless conversation is facing divine accountability. There are people who try to hide their jealousy by offering false support. They praise you publicly but complain privately. They congratulate you with their lips, but criticize you with their hearts. They walk with you, but do not walk for you. But God is separating genuine connections from hidden enemies. Every relationship built on pretense is being removed. Some have been threatened by doors God opened for you because they expected those doors to open for them. They cannot understand why grace found you. They resent your access because they lack the keys. Instead of celebrating your breakthrough, they fight your progress. But God is shutting every mouth that tries to question his choice. There are people who manipulate others by presenting you as a threat. They create imaginary scenarios to justify their hostility. They plant suspicion into innocent hearts. They create emotional distance between you and people assigned to bless you. But God is restoring every stolen connection. Every bridge burnt by deception is being rebuilt with truth. Some have used your vulnerability as evidence of your weakness, not knowing it was your humility that made room for God's strength. They misinterpreted your seasons of silence, thinking you were defeated. They mistook your patience for passivity. But God is about to reveal the strength behind your quietness. Your silence has been a divine strategy. Behind your back, there are those who tried to turn your helpers into strangers. They whispered confusion into ears assigned to bless you. They created doubts in places where you were supposed to receive favor. They attempted to twist the loyalty of people God sent into your life. But the God of restoration is stepping in. Every helper lost through manipulation is returning. Some people believe they can control your destiny by controlling your reputation. They think influencing how others see you will limit how far you rise. They attempt to attack your credibility to prevent your influence. But they forget that reputations are shaped by people, but destinies are shaped by God. And what God shapes cannot be stopped by human interference. There are voices that speak with confidence about things they do not understand. They judge from a distance, assume from ignorance, and declare from confusion. They speak boldly about things they never confirmed. But God is shutting the mouth of every careless speaker. Every false confidence built against you is collapsing. Some tried to measure your journey using their limited perspective. They assumed you could only rise to a certain level because they could not imagine rising themselves. They calculated your future based on their own fears. They predicted your limits according to their own failures. But God is about to shock every narrow mind connected to your story. There are people who oppose you simply because your presence reminds them of what they have refused to become. You challenge them without speaking. You confront their stagnation without trying. Your very existence exposes their lack of movement. But God did not send you to shrink for anyone's comfort. Your rising will continue, even if it intimidates those who refuse to grow. Some tried to label you based on moments you outgrew long ago. They cling to chapters God already closed. They refuse to acknowledge your evolution. They try to freeze your identity in past seasons. But heaven has already updated your identity. You are not who they remember. You are who God is revealing. There are conversations where people united in their dislike for your destiny. They bonded over their discomfort with your rising. They found fellowship in their fear of your greatness. But their unity is temporary. Their agreements are weak. Their conspiracy is already collapsing under divine judgment. What they built behind your back will crumble before your face. There are moments when God allows you to remain unaware of certain conversations, not because he wants you ignorant, but because he wants you protected. If you heard everything that was said behind your back, your heart would carry wounds that heaven never intended for you. So God shielded your ears while he handled your enemies. He blocked your hearing so he could fight unseen battles on your behalf. Some people plotted in darkness because they assumed you lacked discernment. They thought you were too trusting, too pure, too focused on your calling to notice the shadows behind you. They misread your kindness as naivety. They believed their secrecy was secure. But the God who reveals hidden things has already uncovered every agenda. You are walking in a season of divine awareness. There are conversations where your progress was discussed as a problem. People who should have celebrated your growth questioned it instead. They wondered how you rose so quickly, how you survived storms that should have drowned you, how you kept moving when life tried to break you. Their confusion became frustration, and frustration turned into quiet opposition. But God kept elevating you because your rising was never dependent on their approval. Some have mistaken their access to you as permission to speak about you. They thought proximity meant ownership then. They believed their closeness allowed them to define your value. They used familiarity to justify disrespect. But God is drawing a line in the spirit. Every voice that misused access is being silenced. Every heart that abused closeness is being removed from your inner circle. There are individuals who took pride in discussing your flaws, ignoring the grace that carried you through them. They enlarged your imperfections while shrinking your victories. They preferred the version of you that struggled because it made them feel superior. But God is rewriting every narrative. What they exaggerated is being overshadowed by the greatness God is manifesting in you. Behind your back, some have rejoiced at the thought of your failure. They smiled at the possibility of your fall. They imagined scenarios where you would lose what God gave you. They pictured moments where you would collapse under pressure. But every expectation of failure is being reversed. God is turning their quiet celebration into confusion as He continues to strengthen you. There are people whose loyalty was only intact as long as your success did not surpass their comfort. They supported you when your rising benefited them. But the moment your growth demanded their humility, their allegiance shifted. They competed where they should have collaborated. They compared themselves where they should have celebrated you. But God is exposing their motives. Some individuals used emotional manipulation to steer how others viewed you. They shed tears to hide their envy. They played the victim to disguise their hostility. They pretended to be wounded to justify their attacks. Their strategies were subtle but destructive. Yet the Spirit of truth is exposing every emotional deception. Their masks are falling. There are voices that tried to interpret your silence with negativity, saying you were distant, arrogant, or prideful, simply because you refused to engage with drama. They projected their own insecurities onto your boundaries. They mistook self-respect for superiority. But God is clarifying your intentions. Your silence was wisdom, not weakness. Some have spoken about you as though your destiny was theirs to manage. They tried to decide who you should be, where you should go, and what you should desire. They offered unsolicited judgments, disguised as guidance, to keep you within limits they were comfortable with. But God is breaking every false counsel spoken over your life. Behind your back, there are people who gather information about your life, not out of concern, but out of curiosity mixed with envy. They treat your story like entertainment. They track your movements like reporters. They examine your decisions like critics. They want to know everything happening in your world without wanting anything good for you. But God is blocking that access. Your life is no longer available to spectators. There are individuals who tried to influence your supporters with subtle manipulation. They whispered doubts into the ears of people assigned to help you. They highlighted your weaknesses while hiding your strengths. They portrayed themselves as protectors while poisoning relationships meant to elevate you. But God is restoring every connection they corrupted. Some fought your rising because they assumed you needed their permission to succeed. They saw themselves as gatekeepers to your breakthrough. They believed their approval was required for your elevation. They placed themselves on thrones they never deserved, imagining that without them, you would remain small. That God is dethroning every self-appointed authority over your destiny. There are people who became intimidated when they realized you could rise without their help. This threatened their sense of importance. They attacked your confidence because your independence exposed their need for control. God is breaking their influence. Your destiny is not tied to the approval of insecure hearts. Some individuals have tried to redefine your identity based on their limited view of your potential. They assumed your capacity was small because they only witnessed a fragment of your growth. They judged your calling by what they saw externally, ignoring what God was building internally. But heaven is unveiling the true you, the version they never expected. Behind your back, there are those who used your past as a weapon to fight your present. They resurrected old wounds to overshadow your healing. They magnified your previous mistakes to distract from your transformation. They wanted people to remember who you were so they wouldn't celebrate who you are becoming. But God is burying every accusation under the weight of His mercy. There are individuals who pretended to uplift you in public, but planted doubt in private. They clapped loudly, but advised quietly in ways that weakened your spirit. They disguised discouragement as caution. They masked jealousy as concern. But God is exposing every two-faced intention. Your spirit will no longer be influenced by double-minded voices. Some struggled to understand why doors opened for you so easily. They questioned your divine access, saying it was luck, coincidence, or manipulation, never acknowledging the hand of God. Their refusal to accept your favor birthed resentment, but God is increasing His grace upon you, making your success undeniable. There are conversations where people compared themselves to you, not to grow, but to resent. They measured your progress and used it to justify their bitterness. They examined your breakthroughs and used them as fuel for jealousy. But God is turning their comparisons into conviction. Your rising will become a mirror that confronts their stagnation. Behind your back, some believed your destiny was fragile enough to be broken by opinions. They thought their words held the power to stop your future. They underestimated the God who chose you. But every word spoken against you is falling to the ground. Your destiny is fortified. Your calling is sealed. Your rising is inevitable. There are hidden judgments that people formed about you without ever understanding the journey that shaped you. They concluded things about your character based on assumptions not true. They analyzed your decisions without knowing the battles you were fighting. They criticized your choices without knowing the prayers behind them. But the God who sees the secret chambers of your heart is about to vindicate you publicly. Some have spoken conclusions over your life as though your story were finished. They looked at one chapter and declared your ending. They mistook a delay for defeat, a setback for finality, a moment of silence for the end of your voice. They assumed your destiny could be measured by temporary seasons. But God is rewriting every conclusion. Your story is entering a chapter that will silence every premature judgment. There are conversations where people tried to guess your future, not by prophecy, but by projection. They projected their fears onto your destiny. They projected their limitations onto your path. They projected their anxieties onto your assignment. They assumed you would stop where they stopped and fall where they fell. But God is separating your journey from their expectations. Some individuals have tried to influence your relationships by planting subtle seeds of division. They whispered doubts, highlighted misunderstandings, and magnified small issues to create distance between you and those assigned to your purpose. They hoped fractured relationships would weaken your confidence, but God is restoring every bond they tried to break. There are voices that tried to rewrite your intentions, creating versions of your motives that were never true. They painted you as selfish when you were sacrificial, as proud when you were simply confident, as insensitive when you were just focused. They misinterpreted your drive as aggression and your boundaries as rejection. But God is cleansing your image in every place it has been misrepresented. Some have resented the peace you carry because it exposes the storms within them. Your calmness irritates chaotic hearts. Your stability confronts unstable spirits. Your joy agitates those who dwell in bitterness. Instead of learning from your peace, they attack the presence of God operating in your life. But your peace will not be shaken. God is amplifying it. There are individuals who spoke behind your back because they knew they lacked the courage to speak in your presence. They hid in shadows because truth weakens their authority. They whispered in corners because light would expose their motives. Their words were strong only when your back was turned. But God is turning you around. Every hidden voice is being confronted by your rising. Some attacked you because your growth contradicted the narrative they created about you. They needed you to remain small to validate their opinions. They needed you to remain silent to justify their gossip. They needed you to remain predictable so they could feel superior, but your transformation became their intimidation, and God is increasing your growth. There are conversations where people compared your beginnings to someone else's middle and used that comparison as a verdict. They forgot that grace writes unique timeline. They ignored that your journey required supernatural preparation. They dismissed what God was doing in private. But heaven is revealing the results of your hidden season. Your unveiling will shock every doubter. Some individuals pretended to advise you while secretly hoping their advice would derail you. They disguised discouragement as caution. They masked opposition as wisdom. They intentionally pushed you toward paths that distracted you from your true calling. But the voice of God within you has overridden every deceptive counsel. You are walking in clarity. There are people who underestimated your resilience. They expected you to break under pressure, collapse under disappointment, and disappear under adversity. They counted your tears, but forgot your strength. They measured your pain, but overlooked your endurance. They saw your humanity, but not your covenant. But God is proving that your resilience is not natural, it is divine. Some have tried to use your past mistakes as chains to hold your destiny hostage. They try to remind others of who you were so they won't embrace who you are becoming. They rehearse old stories because they fear your new chapter. But God has already forgiven, restored, and elevated you. Their words have no authority over a life redeemed by grace. There are conversations where your dreams were treated as unrealistic fantasies. People laughed at the promises God placed in your spirit. They mocked visions they could not comprehend. They labeled divine instructions as delusion. But God is about to make every promise visible. The same people who doubted will witness the manifestation. Some have opposed your rising simply because they wanted to be the only ones celebrated. They believed elevation should belong exclusively to them. Your success challenged their need for attention. Your breakthrough disrupted their pride. Instead of embracing your victory, they saw it as competition. But God is lifting you beyond every jealous heart. There are individuals who spoke negatively about you because they were terrified of what your success would expose about their stagnation. They preferred you struggling because it made them feel advanced. They preferred you confused because it made them feel wise. They preferred you silent because your voice confronted their complacency. But God is amplifying your influence. Some have been waiting for news of your downfall. They expected a collapse. They anticipated defeat. They checked periodically to see if your life had broken under pressure. But every time they looked, God kept raising you higher. Their disappointment has become continuous because your elevation is continuous. There are people who treated your destiny like a rumor, not a calling. They spoke of it casually, doubted it openly, questioned it boldly, and mocked it privately. They spoke lightly of what heaven spoke heavily about. But God is bringing weight to your assignment. Your destiny will no longer be minimized. Some individuals tried to erase your contributions while magnifying their own. They diminished your impact to inflate their relevance. They downplayed your presence to elevate their ego. They rearranged narratives to place themselves at the center. But God is restoring honor to your name. The truth of your value will rise above every attempt to erase it. There are voices that spoke against you, hoping their words would become reality. They cursed your progress, minimized your efforts, and attacked your identity. They released words rooted in envy, bitterness, and insecurity. But God has overturned every sentence spoken against you. Not one word will stand. And now your rising will speak for you. Your progress will answer every critic. Your elevation will silence every secret conversation. Your breakthrough will expose every hidden plot. Your destiny will overshadow every whisper spoken behind your back. Heaven has rewritten the narrative, and your story will end in victory. As this message reaches the depths of your spirit, may every hidden conversation against your destiny lose its power. May every whisper spoken in darkness be overturned by the voice of God. May every alliance formed to bring you down collapse under the weight of divine justice. You are rising into a season where truth will speak louder than gossip, where light will expose every secret plot, and where the hand of God will rewrite every narrative spoken behind your back. Walk boldly, for heaven has gone ahead of you. Stand firm, for God himself is your defender. Stay protected. Stay victorious. This is your everlasting solution.